All right, welcome to the deep dive. We are diving into some seriously fascinating stuff today, and it's something that's on everyone's minds these days.
Yeah.
How do we actually get people as excited about AI as the tech itself?
Yeah.
So to tackle that, we're diving deep into AI adoption in enterprises, a CXO's guide to building acceptance in enterprise organizations. It's a guide from Kognition.Info, and it's super fresh, like just published April 2025.
Wow.
By the end of this deep dive, you're not only going to know why people are pushing back against AI, but you're also going to have a whole bunch of strategies to help smooth the way for real adoption.
It's interesting, one of the things the guide really highlights is this paradox about AI.
Oh,
Yeah, executives, they're all about AI. They're like throwing a party, all excited about the potential.
yeah.
But then a lot of employees are kind of like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
They're hitting the brakes. It's like everyone's invited to this like futuristic party, but half the guests are worried the robots are gonna, you know, steal their dance moves.
Oh, I love that analogy. And the guide really brings this to life. It's not just talking about this in theory. It gives us hard stats.
Yeah.
PwC found that 85% of executives are ready for AI to completely reshape their business.
Wow.
But then on the flip side, over 60% of employees are worried AI is going to take their jobs.
It's understandable though, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if that's not setting us up for some serious friction, I don't know what is.
And it's more than just like, oh, this is awkward. This friction has a real cost. It's not just wasted tech investments. It's projects that just drag on and on.
Oh,
We're talking like 1.5 to 2 times longer than planned just because of resistance to AI.
Oof, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, right. You have this amazing new AI system that's supposed to make everything better, but nobody's using it because they don't want to.
Exactly. And then what happens is people create these like workarounds. They're called shadow processes. They stick to the old ways of doing things. They just work around the AI. Gartner actually found that 85%, get this, 85% of AI projects totally fail
What?
because of bias or because the company culture just doesn't support using it.
So it's like buying a super fancy sports car and then refusing to take it out of first gear.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we've got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But why is this happening? Is it just people being afraid of the unknown, or is there something deeper going on here?
I think it's definitely more than just fear of the unknown. The guide really dives into like the psychology behind why people resist.
Right.
And to be honest, it makes a lot of sense. Think about it. AI can disrupt everything, like our jobs, our status, even how we see ourselves in our work. It's a lot.
It's like not just losing a job, it's like losing a part of who you are.
Yeah. And the guide calls this loss aversion. It's this human thing, We feel the pain of a potential loss way more strongly than we feel good about a potential gain. So like that fear of AI taking your job just looms so large.
Right, it's bigger than any promise of AI, making work easier or, giving you more free time.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have all the uncertainty around AI.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
New tech is always a little unsettling, right? But especially when everyone's saying, oh, everything's going to change, well, how?
You don't know how AI works. It feels like this, black box is making these huge decisions.
Right, it's scary.
That affect your livelihood, your paycheck.
It would make anyone anxious.
Yeah, and then that anxiety just fuels more resistance. It's this feeling of like, I have no control. I'm being forced to adapt to this thing. I don't understand it.
I mean, haven't we all felt that way at some point with new technology?
Mm-hmm.
It's overwhelming and you're like, where do I even start?
Yeah.
And why should I bother?
Yeah, and that's where like the traditional way of implementing AI just totally misses the mark. That whole tech-first approach.
Right.
It assumes that everybody's going to fall in line. Like,
Yep.
Here's the tech, deal with it. But it doesn't work that way. You've got to bring people along. You've got to engage them.
So it's not about forcing AI down people's throats.
Right.
It's more like setting up a buffet, letting people choose what works for them.
Exactly. And the guide actually calls this the engagement model. It's about empowering people to be partners in this whole process.
I like that. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we get people on board?
Well, the guide lays out this engagement cycle, and it all starts with listening.
Ah, okay.
It's about really understanding what your employees are worried about.
Yeah, what their perspective is before you make any decisions or, start implementing things.
Exactly. It's about making sure people feel heard and understood.
Right, not just told what to do.
Exactly. And then after that comes education.
Okay.
So like demystifying what AI is, explaining how it works,
Right.
and showing how it can actually make their lives better, their work lives better.
So it's about building knowledge and trust before asking people to change how they do things. But
Yeah.
it sounds like it's more than just like training sessions.
Yeah, for sure. The guide emphasizes involvement. You've got to give people a voice in how AI is used in their area so it feels like a team effort.
Like they're part of the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then adaptation. You've got to be willing to change your approach based on the feedback you're getting.
Based on how people are actually using the tech.
Yeah, because one size doesn't fit all.
Right, exactly.
And throughout all of this, you've got to provide support. Training, resources, coaching.
Yeah, you got to give people the tools to succeed.
Exactly. And, don't forget to celebrate those wins. It keeps people motivated.
Absolutely. Recognizing effort, rewarding those successes is huge. It shows people that their contribution matters.
Exactly. And then it all continues with iteration. You refine the tech, refine your approach, keep the conversation going. It's just this ongoing process.
So it's clear that simply buying the fanciest AI software out there isn't enough.
Yeah.
You've got to bring your people along, make them feel involved and, empowered. But let's be honest, even with the best intentions, people can be really resistant to change. What are some actual tactics, like things the guide recommends for overcoming that resistance?
That's a great question. And that's something we are going to dive into in the next part of our deep dive. So stay tuned.
All right, can't wait. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Last time we were talking about, this challenge of getting everyone as excited about AI as, the folks who are actually paying for it.
Right.
And it's really about understanding why people are so resistant. And this guide, AI Adoption in Enterprises, it's calling for a complete shift in how we approach AI.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on engagement, not just, implementing the technology.
Yeah, it's like you can't just force AI on people.
Yeah.
It's like trying to teach a cat to fetch. It's not going to go well. But when you make people feel like they're part of the process, that's when the real magic happens. And that's where things get really interesting. The guide actually lays out some really smart tactics for overcoming resistance. And I think our listeners are going to want to hear about this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Let's start with fear. It's the biggest roadblock when it comes to AI adoption. People are afraid of robots taking their jobs, and just being left behind. What if we could actually flip that script?
Okay, now I'm intrigued. How do we do that?
Well, by reframing AI, instead of it being a job killer, it's a job enhancer. So instead of focusing on what AI might replace, let's focus on what it can create, new roles, new opportunities, a chance for people to upskill and stay ahead of the curve.
So it's about showing people that AI isn't this big bad enemy, but it's actually a tool that can make their work lives better.
Exactly. The guide gives this great example of a financial services firm that was having a tough time implementing AI for processing customer requests. They changed how they were talking about it. Instead of saying automation, they started saying customer advocate empowerment. And you know what? They saw a 76% increase in people actually wanting to use the system.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that when you position AI as a way to empower people, not replace them, you can actually get people on board.
Right.
But sometimes, that fear comes from people not understanding AI.
Oh, yeah.
They see it as this mysterious thing they can't control.
Right. Right. Knowledge is power. And that's where education comes in. The more people know about AI, how it works, what it can do, what it can't do, and how it can help them, the less intimidating it's going to seem.
So it's about demystifying AI.
Yeah.
Taking it out of the realm of science fiction.
Right.
And bringing it down to earth, making it real.
Exactly. Exactly. And being upfront about, what AI can and cannot do. Explaining things in plain language, so anyone can understand. And offering ongoing learning, opportunities. It's not a one-time thing. It's a continuous process of building AI literacy.
I love that ongoing AI literacy. It makes so much sense, right? It's like learning a new language, the more you practice, the more fluent you become.
Exactly.
And the less scary it seems.
Yeah, right. The guide actually highlights this healthcare provider that created what they called a medical AI academy for their staff. And they saw resistance drop by 62% just by providing that, consistent support and education.
Those are amazing results.
Yeah.
It just proves that knowledge really is the antidote to fear. But, I think there's another piece of this puzzle, and that's control. When people feel like decisions are being made for them, they naturally push back.
You're totally right. People want to feel like they have a voice, that they have a choice. That's where participation comes in.
All right.
You involve people in the process, and it becomes their project, not something that's forced upon them.
So it's not about just telling people how AI is going to change their jobs. It's about asking them, how can we use AI to make your job easier, more fulfilling?
Exactly. The guide talks about this manufacturing company that created, get this, digital innovation teams made up of the workers on the factory floor, the people who are actually doing the work.
I love that. So smart.
They were actually empowered to identify areas where AI could make things better.
What happened? What was the outcome?
Well, they had a 94% adoption rate
Wow.
in just 3 months.
That's incredible.
And they saw all these improvements that management hadn't even thought of. It was all driven by the employees.
That is amazing. It just shows you that when you include the people who are actually doing the work, you get incredible results.
Yeah.
But let's be real, even with all the education and participation in the world, trust can still be a big issue, especially when we're talking about AI.
Oh, yeah. Trust is like the foundation of everything. It's like that with AI, too. If people don't trust the technology, they're not going to use it.
So how do we build that trust?
Transparency, being open about how the AI works, how it's monitored, and, what the ethical guidelines are. The guide talks about a retailer that got a ton of pushback when they introduced this AI system for scheduling. Employees were like, no way, this isn't fair. It's biased.
Yeah, I can see why they'd be concerned. Scheduling can really impact your life.
Right, but instead of ignoring those concerns, the company made the system's logic transparent. They explained how the algorithm worked, what things it was considering.
So they were like, look, here's how it works, no secrets.
Exactly. It led to an 87% reduction in conflicts. Transparency built trust, and that trust led to people actually accepting the system.
Wow. Those are some really powerful tactics. But it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, is it?
No, you're right. The guide really stresses that. You need tailored strategies. What works for one person might not work for another. It's about really understanding your audience.
So we've got this great understanding now. And we've got some tools for navigating resistance. But how do we actually put all of this into practice? Where do we begin?
Well, that's where the guide's 4-phase implementation strategy is really helpful. It's like a roadmap for navigating the entire AI adoption journey. And the first phase is all about building a solid foundation.
Okay, I'm ready to get into the details. What's step one?
So this first phase is all about, like I said, foundation building, and it's about laying the groundwork for success by really understanding your people, assessing if your company is actually ready for this, crafting a compelling vision, and finding your AI champions.
That sounds like a really crucial first step. And before we get into the details of foundation building and all the other phases, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to unpack this whole roadmap and give you the knowledge and the strategies you need to lead your organization to AI success. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about, all the hurdles that come with AI adoption and some really clever ways to get over them. But it's not enough to just have a plan. We got to actually put it into action, make it happen. So how do we actually get people using and, loving AI?
Right, and that's where the guide's 4-phase implementation strategy really comes in. It's like we've got this roadmap guiding us through every step of this AI journey, and we left off on, the most crucial part, building that solid foundation.
Right, phase 1, foundation building.
Yeah.
It really sounds like we're not just talking about like the tech stuff here, we're also talking about the human side of things too.
Absolutely, yeah. You wouldn't build a house on like shaky ground, right? AI is the same way.
Right.
This phase is about understanding your people, What are they worried about? What are they hoping for? Where are they on the whole AI spectrum? Are some people like, let's do this, AI all the way? And others are like, I'm sticking with my spreadsheets, thank you very much.
Yeah, totally.
It's about knowing your audience before you even, start implementing anything and figuring out, is your company even ready for this kind of change?
Yeah, for sure.
And this is also where you build your, why AI is good story,
Oh, yeah.
Not just for the company's bottom line,
Right.
but for every single employee. How is it going to make their day better,
Right.
Will AI free up more time for the creative stuff?
Yeah.
Will it help them make smarter decisions?
Like, hey, remember all those boring reports you hated doing? AI could take care of that now.
Exactly.
You can focus on the interesting stuff.
Yeah. And this is where, finding your AI chubbies is so important.
Oh, yeah.
These are like your cheerleaders, the folks who are already excited about AI. They can help spread the word. They answer everyone's questions.
Yeah.
They help smooth things over.
Okay, so by the end of this phase, We've got the bosses on board, we've got a plan, and we've got a team who's ready to go.
Exactly.
Okay, foundation is laid. What's next?
All right, so phase 2, engagement initiation.
Okay.
This is where the action really starts. We're talking like months 3 to 6.
Okay.
And you remember all that education stuff we talked about?
Mm-hmm.
This is where it all happens.
Yeah.
We roll out those AI literacy programs.
Right.
We tackle those misconceptions head on, explain things in plain English,
Yeah.
and highlight those, early wins to show people what's possible.
It's like dipping your toes in the AI pool.
Yeah.
It's not as cold as you thought it would be.
Exactly.
And, making people feel like they're part of how it all unfolds.
Right, and this is where that participatory design stuff comes in, right?
Yeah.
You're giving people a voice, letting them help shape how AI is used in their own jobs. It doesn't feel like a command from the top.
Right.
It feels like a team effort.
So it's less, here's the new AI system, deal with it.
Yeah.
And more, how can we use AI to make your job, easier and more fulfilling?
Exactly, yeah. And you want to give people like those low-risk early experiences with AI.
Yeah.
Maybe a simple tool that automates a task they hate, you know?
Right.
This helps build confidence and shows them, hey, AI is actually useful.
I like it.
So by the end of this phase, your workforce is informed, they're engaged, and they're ready for more.
Right. The momentum's building.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about phase 3, implementation support.
Okay.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
We're talking like months, 6 to 12.
Right.
It's about helping people use AI in their everyday work and actually enjoying it.
Exactly, yeah. We're moving past the theory and into like the real world of using AI every day. And this is where personalized training becomes so important. You're not just teaching people, okay, here's how the software works. You're helping them figure out, okay, how does this fit into what you do every day?
Yeah.
How can you adapt what you do?
What skills do you need to, succeed with this new technology?
Exactly. Not everyone learns the same way. Some people want those hands-on workshops.
Right.
Others, they prefer those online courses.
Right.
Some learn best from their coworkers, It's all about options.
And of course, we can't forget about celebrating those early wins, showing everyone that AI is actually making a difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Highlight those teams or people who are rocking it with AI.
Yeah.
It's inspiring.
And it shows that it's not just all hype. AI is making a real, tangible impact. But what about when things get tough? Because let's be real, there are going to be times when people get frustrated, they get confused, maybe even resistant.
Right. You've got to manage that resistance. Be proactive. Set up ways for people to give feedback.
Yeah.
So they can voice their concerns without feeling like they're going to get in trouble.
Right.
And then be ready to help. Maybe they need extra training, or maybe the system itself needs tweaking.
It's like we said before, listening is key.
Yeah.
But also remembering that AI isn't a magic wand, It's a tool, and we have to integrate it thoughtfully.
Exactly.
Sometimes that means changing how we do things.
Right.
Which isn't always easy.
No.
And that's why facilitating that work redesign is so important. You're helping teams to figure out, okay, how do we rethink our processes, our roles, our responsibilities with AI in the mix?
Right. And that often means working closely with the department heads, making sure that how they're using AI aligns with their team's goals and all of that.
So it's not a matter of just like throwing AI at people and saying, figure it out.
No, not at all.
It's about teamwork.
Exactly. Yeah. And like with any big change, you've got to celebrate milestones, recognize progress.
Yeah.
Highlight how people are using AI and making a difference. It keeps everyone motivated.
So by the end of this phase, we should be seeing AI being used more and more. Things are running smoother and people are, feeling good about their jobs. It's not just about the tech working. It's about people actually using it and being happy about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that brings us to the final phase, institutionalization.
Oh.
We're talking about going beyond just rolling it out.
Right.
It's about making AI a core part of, how your company does things. It becomes part of the company's DNA.
So we're not just checking a box.
Yeah.
We're making this a lasting change.
Yeah.
But how do we do that? How do we make sure people keep using and loving AI in the long run?
You've got to build a culture where everyone's constantly learning and adapting, right?
Yeah.
So you need systems to track, like, okay, how are people using AI? What's the impact? But most importantly, how do people feel about it?
Yeah. Yeah. Are they using the tools?
Right.
Are they finding them useful? Are they coming up with suggestions, ways to make things even better? And this isn't a finish line, it's a journey, right?
Exactly. It's not just, is the AI working,
Yeah.
but are people working with the AI?
Are they happy?
And are they happy about it?
Yes, yes.
Exactly. And remember that, adoption spectrum from like, no way to, I love this.
Yeah.
In this phase, you want to see people moving towards the I love this end of the spectrum.
So it sounds like this phase is about going beyond, just accepting AI to actually being excited about it.
Right.
But that doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
How do we, cultivate that excitement and sense of ownership?
Leadership plays a huge role here.
Okay.
They need to be the ones championing AI, celebrating successes, and addressing those concerns that are still lingering. They've got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
So it's about building this culture where everyone values AI.
Right.
But people also feel comfortable sharing their ideas and, contributing to how AI evolves.
Exactly. And this is also about creating a community, where people can share their experiences with AI, what's working, what's not working, make it easy for people to connect and help each other out.
So it's about building a network of AI champions, not just relying on a few people to, carry the torch.
Exactly. And as your company gets better and better with AI, you're going to need people who are experts in the human side of all this.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So you want to build a team of AI adoption specialists who can guide new projects and make sure you're always putting people first.
Wow, what a journey. We've covered so much, from understanding why people resist to building a culture where everyone embraces AI.
It's a lot.
If our listeners are feeling overwhelmed, they're not alone. This is a lot to take in.
Yeah, for sure. But the main takeaway is that AI adoption, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about people.
Yeah.
Not just technology. It's about listening, learning, adapting, and celebrating all those wins along the way.
And remember, you don't have to do it all at once.
No.
Start small, experiment, build on your successes.
And don't forget the most important thing, AI is a tool to empower people.
Yeah.
Not to replace them. When you remember that, that's when you can unlock the true potential of AI.
So we really encourage you to check out the full guide, AI Adoption in Enterprises. For all the details on what we talked about today. It's full of insights and practical advice that'll really help you on your AI journey.
And ask yourself, what's one little thing I can do today to build a future where humans and AI work together?
That's a great question to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.